fast, just like my desk, but I'm pushing through this week. My plate is full, stomach empty. Everybody around me gotta eat. I miss back home, it's been too long. Ain't seen my mama in weeks. Out on my own, but I know exactly.
Welcome to the IDP show. I'm your host, Josh Raymer, joined in the Sode Shack tonight. On my right, Adam Markham, Evan Ronda. On my left, Jon Macri and Jake Kohlhagen. Boys, how are we this evening?
We are doing so good. We just had a fantastic day. Fantastic weekend.
Yeah, I'm giving you the solo cam here, Addy, because this is, I think, the closest you've ever come to like heaven on earth for you.
Yeah, just a perfect day. We got to, take you boys out to my favorite golf course in the world. The weather was perfect. The vibes were high. Yeah, it was just a great day. And then we got to finish it off with some Mexican food. And now we're going to talk about some IDP guys.
Now we're going to talk IDP.
Yeah.
John, what's better than that? You got to see God's country, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. You got a little bit of Mexican food on top of that. Now you're getting to talk IDP in the Sode Shack. I mean, it's a pretty good day.
It's a damn good day. Near perfect day, I would say. The golf come down is real.
Yes.
That's what we're learning.
The golf crash is very real, people.
Yeah, especially when you do 6.5 hours.
Yes.
For one round, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
One round. Yeah, Adam, explain the setup. We did a little scramble today.
Yeah, we had it was a 3 versus 4 scramble because there were 7 of us. And we got to all play together. So, they didn't split us up. So, we were, all 7 of us were on the same hole together every time. So, it was awesome. It, obviously made it a very long day.
Very long day, but a very good day.
But who cares? Yeah, I mean, that's what you want rounds like that to last forever. So, it was nice.
Yeah. Are we a little bit tired tonight? Yes, but we're going to push through because we're professionals, Addy.
You guys are going to be fine.
But we're going to make it. We're going to be all right. That's what I know about us. So, Jake, what did you think of golf, Mexican, IDP? I mean, that's a pretty good recipe for a pretty good day.
I think the recipe was perfect. I don't know that the order was right for me personally. I had one good shot out there, so I'm going to just hold on to that and hopefully hold on to a couple takes here for our IDPs.
I was very impressed.
Hell
with
of a
everyone.
shot it was, though, from Jake.
Hell of a shot, but
they're on 18.
But everyone clutched
Beautiful.
up at multiple moments throughout the day. I mean, it was. I was very impressed. I mean, this was like their first round. Like these boys have never played golf before, and yeah, very good.
Just
very
natural
good.
athletes out there.
Yeah,
truly.
Just
You can tell.
Yeah.
John has shown his power through disc golf and regular golf over the last 2 days, and it's actually kind of terrifying how strong this man is.
What would your RAS be if it was a golf score?
Yeah, like a 6.9 for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a good. You would be a 4.20, I think,
Absolutely,
Adam. Yeah.
for sure.
So welcome into the IDP show. We're glad you all are here. Yes, we are coming down off of the golf high, off of the Mexican food high, but the NFL draft high is the ultimate high for this weekend, and we are going to be putting a bow on all the action from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, talking about best and worst landing spots. John, me and you did this episode together the first year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year, the young king, Evan Ronda, joined us for that episode, and now we are doing it here in the Sode Shack. With the 5 of us, we are so glad to be back with you all. Thank you for all the love on the draft live stream, all the content we've been pumping out here in the run-up to the draft. We so appreciate you all's support. What we're going to do tonight is walk through 8 different ideal landing spots for IDP and 4 that we're not so crazy about, as well as some quick hitters at the end. But gentlemen, what do you say we jump right into it and kick things off with a linebacker that I would say, John, we weren't too high on to start out the draft, but got a nice landing spot, got some good draft capital. We're talking about Trenton Simpson, linebacker now of the Baltimore Ravens. It feels good to actually say the teams that these guys are with, right? And stop speculating about landing spots. Baltimore Ravens, linebacker Trenton Simpson. What did we like about this landing spot, John?
So, yeah, I mean, it seems like the NFL felt the same way about this linebacker class as we kind of did as IDP guys, like just kind of going through the group and trying to figure out how they fit in. And, we all felt pretty good about Jack Campbell translating to IDP. We weren't really sure about Drew Sanders, Trenton Simpson, but there are things to like about Trenton Simpson. I think he is a good coverage player, like decent. You know, he didn't earn the best coverage grades. They were usually in the 60s in college, but he kind of did everything well. You see kind of what he does, you know, as far as being able to cover in single coverage, being able to step into the slot, being able to blitz as well. He offers a lot of versatility. And going to the Ravens specifically, I mean, we know how I feel about Patrick Queen specifically, but the Ravens probably aren't overly excited about him either. He has a 5th-year option still not picked up.
Due on Monday.
Yeah.
Monday is the deadline.
Doesn't seem like they'd pick it up.
And we've already seen some fallout from teams taking players this weekend. We're going to talk about another guy here shortly in Daiyan Henley. And the news comes out right after that. Kenneth Murray's 5th-year option not going to be picked up. So I would say at this point, Jake, I do not expect Patrick Queen's 5th-year option to be picked up at this point.
Yeah, I got to agree. And that's just, I think John hit a lot of the great things. He does everything really well. And Patrick Queen just hasn't shown that to us yet in any level of consistency that he can do everything well. And when you got a guy like Roquan out there, you don't want to be limited in what you have to do with him because you have to go ahead and cover up for Queen's weaknesses, or you're limited because Queen can only do these certain things. Now you got a guy in Simpson who can go out there and, you know, maybe, again, not elite at any of those levels coming in, but he's going to be able to give you options as a defense in what you want to do.
Eddie, I will say, though, Patrick Queen had a nice season last year. Just because the 5th-year option doesn't get picked up, that is going to create a depression in his value, but I think he can still be a nice asset for 2023.
Yes. I mean, we just saw a bunch of, you know, kind of meh linebackers get really decent deals on the free agent market. So I think Patrick Queen still going to be really young. I mean, that guy came into the league very young. So, I mean, very like similar like Tremaine Edmonds is like, you know, this is like his 3rd or 4th year, but he's still just like 23, 24. So, yeah, I think he's still going to get another contract somewhere else. I still feel like he's a fine dynasty asset. And yeah, you're right. A really nice buy low right now.
Yeah. Evan, you have, I think, 17 rookie picks in 2 different leagues. That's not like 8 and 9. That's 34 across 2 leagues. So you have a chance to take a dart throw on Trenton Simpson. Where are you willing to take this guy in rookie drafts?
Yeah, I think there's 2 different questions here inherently. One is, where is Evan Ronda willing to take Trenton Simpson in rookie drafts?
Or Evan Honda, as we found out.
Evan Honda. And then there's, where should he be taken, generally speaking? For me personally, I tend to fade rookie tight ends, and I tend to fade generally rookie IDPs in these rookie drafts, just because I prefer drafting other positions, and I trust in my ability to find value elsewhere. But all that aside, I think he should be one of the top linebackers taken off the board. Now, he's no Jack Campbell, and we might get to discuss him a little bit later. And if you want some more in-depth analysis, you can go listen to our draft coverage where we talked about him in-depth there. But I think in the 3rd or 4th round, that seems reasonable to me. It really depends on your league. It depends on where players are being drafted. There are so many factors at play, and I never want to give anything too specific or too on the nose, because in one league it could be one thing, in another thing it could be another thing entirely. But depending on where your league is valuing rookies, depending on where your league is valuing linebackers, if Jack Campbell goes in the middle of the 1st round, Trenton Simpson's probably not going to make it to the 4th. But if Jack Campbell's going in the early 2nd, mid-2nd, then maybe your league doesn't value rookie linebackers as heavily, and therefore you can afford to wait on him. But I wouldn't reach on him by any means unless I am desperate for a linebacker. But even still, I don't necessarily see Trenton Simpson as a year 1 contributor.
No, I don't think so.
And so he could be more of an asset that you trade for mid-season. If anything else, that might be ideal.
Yeah, very good way to put that, Evan. And I would say with that, let's move to the second guy here on our list. It is the brother of Azeez Ojulari, BJ Ojulari, landing with the Arizona Cardinals. And we like this one, John, I think because, well, there's not much else cooking there in Arizona. We've got Cam Thomas. We've got Myjai Sanders. But Zach Allen's out of town. J.J. Watt's retired. And they didn't get the Will Anderson that they were hoping for. They didn't get the Tyree Wilson they were hoping for. Yeah. So BJ Ojulari kind of feels like a consolation prize a little bit. I know you're not as high on the player, but the landing spot is pretty good.
Yeah, speaking specifically from a landing spot perspective, it's a great spot for a lot of different reasons. And I mean, just opportunity. Let's look at it that way. You know, Myjai Sanders was drafted last year, still growing, still progressing as far as his pass rush ability. But, you know, he might be the best pass rusher off the edge. I mean, Cameron Thomas is there as well, but I think on a lot of obvious passing downs, Cameron Thomas kicks inside and plays a little bit more over the tackle, inside the tackle kind of position. So you need another edge there. And Victor Dimukeji is one of the options. Yes, him.
Oh, Victor Dimukeji.
Of course, yeah. Dennis Gardeck, again, you know, he flashed at times and was solid. Yep, Adam knows. He
Long
knows.
hair.
Long hair, don't care.
Yep.
Love that.
One of our long-haired guys.
That's right. And so there's opportunity there, right? So as much as we might not be crazy about the prospect, there's still a lot for him to kind of do to be, you know, an NFL level player and be consistently productive for IDP. But I mean, he's going to get plenty of opportunity to get to that point.
Yeah. Jake, you're sitting there. You've done a lot of these best ball drafts with us. You want a piece for whatever reason. Maybe you're a sicko. Maybe you're a Jonathan Gannon fan and you like what the Eagles did last year and you're like, let me get a piece of that Arizona Cardinals defensive line. Yum, yum, yum. Those three guys are all available. Myjai Sanders, Cam Thomas, and BJ Ojulari. Who are you taking your swing on in best ball drafts?
I'm probably going to lean Ojulari.
Okay, interesting.
And I really think he might have the upside of one of the best speed rushers in this class. And just that with his size and the bend that he does show at times. In best balls, I'm just looking for a guy that's going to hit me with a sack, you know, every few weeks. And I think he's going to be the guy that can do that for us. I'm with you. I think Myjai's got some room to grow there, John. I actually took a lot of shares in him so far in a lot of the best balls too, just because the path to volume's there. Mm-hmm. But I like what I saw in terms of that speed. He's not going to get you a lot of tackles. He's not going to do much else, but I think he can deliver those sacks. And the question is Zaven Collins going to be on the other side of him?
Mm-hmm. That is a good question.
Rushing, so,
Addie, we saw a lot of Zaven Collins chatter. He's listed as the right defensive end for the Cardinals. So maybe he's the guy that we want coming off the edge. But for right now, assuming he's still a off-ball linebacker, there's no denying that Jonathan Gannon in charge of this Cardinals defense now, even if this team is devoid of a lot of talent, the guys that are there are going to get opportunity in a pretty nice scheme for defensive line.
Yep. Totally new coach, totally new scheme. So, yeah, they're going to be evaluating everything, and that means maybe they try some of these guys in different spots. And, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, Zaven Collins, you know, that guy is built to do that. He's 6'5". He's 260 pounds. He has a 8.99 RAS when I ran him as a defensive end. So, I mean, he would do fine there, I think. As far as, like, which of these edge guys I want outside of Zaven Collins, if you want to classify him that, I guess Ojulari for Dynasty. I mean, draft capital-wise, he was a second-round pick, and then Sanders and Cameron Thomas were both drafted in the third round. Ojulari did suck it up, though, at the Combine. 4.93 RAS score.
Retro.
Yeah, that wasn't great. Also, you know, wasn't overly productive at LSU. But the good thing with Ojulari is he was one of the youngest prospects in this class. He is just 21.1 years of age, and he got playing time early on at LSU. So you like that.
That's nice. Evan, you're also a best ball sicko. Same question for you. These three guys are all available. Ojulari, Cam Thomas, Myjai Sanders. Who are you going after if you want a piece of that Cardinals pass rush?
Yeah, man,
Evan's like, I don't think I would. I've run the probabilities, and the opportunity cost is too great.
I'd probably take Myjai Sanders.
I think I would too.
I think just having experience in the league has to mean something. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody that is anywhere near the level of some of these fine gentlemen when it comes to player analysis.
I'm going to pretend you pointed at me.
I was a general gesture towards the other
It was the rest of the table.
a quick change of gears really quick, just to kind of give some perspective, right? There were a lot of really good edge rushers taken in this rookie class, and there are a lot of really productive edge rushers that are being underrated as it currently stands in these best ball drafts. I can't really see a scenario where B.J. Ojulari is a kind of a player that I'm really trying to acquire, because in rookie drafts, he's going to be, he should be, I should say, one of the later edges taken. He should not be anywhere near top 5 at the position, I don't think. Maybe I'll dig into it a little more, but there's a lot of talent in this class. So if I'm looking for a dynasty asset, I'm not worried too much about landing spot, because I just want to acquire a talented player. But if I want production, I'm probably not looking for a rookie at all. I'm probably looking for somebody that's being really underrated and might be on the aging side, but still willing to produce points. And so when it comes to best ball, yes, to answer your question, I would probably just take MyJ just because he's been in the league. But I also want to give some context to the listeners of, yes, this is a good landing spot for a player that we're not uber high on. And so I want to make sure that we're not kind of getting ahead of ourselves when it comes to thinking about what this might mean for his dynasty value.
Yeah, there's something I've learned doing this as long as we have. Setting expectations too high for rookies is a poison pill that I want to stay away from.
Yep.
Because it can really kind of tarnish excitement for these rookies by placing unfair expectations on them, right? To see them as the savior of your dynasty fantasy football team when they're just learning their craft at the professional level. I wouldn't want someone to be placing all their eggs in my basket as a 21-year-old coming into the workforce for the first time, John. That'd be a lot of pressure.
There would be a lot of pressure. I would definitely not live up to it.
No, I would disappoint everyone. I would feel awful.
Yeah.
It would not be a good feeling.
Yeah.
So I think we
it's
have to
hard.
be patient, and we shouldn't be disappointed with these rookies because that's just a gap between our expectations and reality. So let's just have fair expectations of these guys. It's going to take time. You've talked about it many times that defensive line takes 2, 3, even 4 years to really get the hang of.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, project guys like B.J. Ojulari, who does still need a lot of work. You're going to have to be patient, and I think you're going to have to be patient with a lot of the IDPs that were drafted this year specifically.
Yeah. So let's move to the next guy here, and it is our first worst landing spot on the night, and we are talking about Drew Sanders, linebacker, or possibly edge rusher for the Denver Broncos. I think that kind of plays into a little bit, gentlemen, what we are talking about with this being a bad landing spot. And we should clarify here, this is not like worst case scenario nightmare landing spot. Just as like we're not that excited, could have been better, because a lot of these guys we just don't know, right? And for the most part, these guys landed in situations that we like. It's kind of hard as we went through this to actually find landing spots that we weren't crazy about. But, Addy, what is it about Drew Sanders landing in Denver that maybe has us going, okay, I guess?
Well, I'll be honest. I wasn't that down on it. I don't mind it.
Speak on why you are not as down on it.
Well, just because, it's Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton in front of him. That's not that scary, Josie Jewell has just 1 year remaining on his deal. Singleton, they did give him a 3-year deal, but really guaranteed-wise, I think it's just a 2-year type deal. So, that's not enough to really have me concerned about Drew Sanders in year 2. Year 1, probably not going to get much out of him, of course. And we'll see how they use him, is he going to are they going to try and make him more of a full-time edge player? I don't think so. I think I see him more as like a Caden Ellis type. He's going to do a little bit of both. But yeah, I'm okay with him. I'm okay with him long term. The worst thing about Drew Sanders was getting the 3rd round draft capital.
Yeah.
If you looked at most mocks, this guy was
the betting favorite to go first round.
Yeah, sometimes being drafted
for a while there.
Being mocked at the end of the 1st round, definitely in the 2nd round. So to see him fall to the 3rd round, that was a bummer. But I'm okay with it. I think you're going to be able to get him as a value now in your fantasy drafts. So I'm probably gonna try and keep a 3rd round pick to maybe target some Sanders.
I think, Jake, for me, what it was is that there could have been spots that Sanders could have landed where he would have been a year one contributor potentially. And instead, we feel pretty confident saying he's going to sit behind Kingleton and Josie Jewell, as Evan likes to say. So I think that for me is what dampens my enthusiasm a little bit year one. But like Addy said, dynasty-wise, not super worried. A little bit of a question mark on the role. I don't want this to be necessarily another Baron Browning situation. So I think that's part of it too, is like question marks around the role. We know he's not going to be probably a year one contributor outside of injury. So where we sit right now here on April 29th, I'm not as enthused as I thought maybe I would be leaving this weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I think the thing that scares me too is you have someone in Singleton who can absolutely gobble up those tackles. You look at his tackle efficiency numbers just over the last 3 years, he's managed to sustain that, 5 to 7 points higher than the league average consistently. And you got someone coming in Drew Sanders who showed an inability to be consistent in his tackling. One of the worst missed tackle rates as well coming out this year. So I know Jewell's on the last year of his contract, but that doesn't mean he's on his way out for sure either. And I don't know, maybe we're just all a little dampened because there's so many spots that are still out there that are so great. I mean, if he would have landed in New York with the Giants or, with the Rams in LA, these are spots where we could recognize some of this value and that talent immediately.
Yeah, we're not even saying an LB1 type of opportunity. LB2, second banana
exactly
kind of role would have been nice. So, John, what did you think here? Do you think with the landing spot, like we didn't talk about the coaching staff, right? This is a brand new coaching staff. What do we think their intentions are with Drew Sanders?
So it's interesting, right? Because Vance Joseph comes back to Denver now, and one thing that he liked to do a lot last year with Arizona was blitzing. And you look at the linebackers that you might be able to utilize as blitzers. Josie Jewell and Alex Singleton weren't that productive as pass rushers, right? I think Josie Jewell had like 11 pressures. He ended up getting a few sacks in, but very ineffective considering, the amount of times that they used him in that role. And then Alex Singleton did not come up with any sacks. He obviously was a very good tackler, but didn't have that production as a blitzer. So there's a potential, I guess, that they like him in that role. And keeping in mind too, like Drew Sanders is very new to the linebacker position. He only started playing it recently. He was a 5-star defensive end coming out and was recruited by Alabama, but that position didn't work out. So still very new, still learning the position. So I think there's a chance that we might see him, take a back seat for at least a year while he still learns to play like a true linebacker position for Denver. So that's kind of one of the reasons that we're a little bit lower on him, at least for this year. That's
why I went with Alex Single-Skill, which I thought was pretty slick as well. The dude's good at tackling, but maybe not much else. Having greasy hair?
Good hair.
Good hair. Great. Very good hair. So, Drew Sanders, again, not saying it's you toss this guy out in your rookie drafts. This guy doesn't have a future in the league now. We just maybe could have wished for a little bit better for Drew Sanders. Let's move on to the next best landing spot, which is the safety Sidney Brown landing with the Philadelphia Eagles. John, I think you were the one who brought up Sidney Brown, I believe.
Yeah, because he's a Canadian.
Okay, I knew there was some motivation behind this pick here, but besides being our friends to the north, just like you, good sir, what else did you like about Sidney Brown landing with the Eagles?
Well, again, it's opportunity.
That's right. Yeah. Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds, right?
That's it. Yeah. Kayvon Wallace, not really going to be a threat. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is gone now. So there's a need there for like a physical safety. And Sidney Brown is very much that. Terrell Edmonds, I don't find him to be that, that guy that could play that role. So I think there's opportunity there for Sidney Brown, who's, a stout kind of safety. He's a little bit on the shorter side, but very physical, and he has coverage ability as well. So there's a lot to like about him. Obviously, the Eagles liked him as kind of the first true safety taken in this draft, depending on how you view Brian Branch. But I think Sidney Brown technically falls into that mold more so than Branch does. I really like Sidney Brown. I liked him a lot watching his tape. I think there was, he showed a lot that he can do and be effective for IDP as far as playing in the box, which he did a ton. and put up a lot of tackles, and he could cover, right? So, I was high on him. He was my number 2 safety for this class coming into the draft. He's going to maybe move to number 1.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I liked him before I knew he was
Spoiler
Canadian.
alert.
That just kind of pushed him over the edge. But
Yeah. If he wasn't Canadian, he probably stays at 2, right?
Yeah.
Evan, I can hear the Hello Darkness, my old friend, with the Reed Blankenship shares just being lit on fire with a Canadian flamethrower, the big Canadian flag on the side of it. But how are you feeling now with your Reed Blankenship shares up in flames? Sidney Brown in Philadelphia. Speak on it, young king.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I've been drafting so much of Reed Blankenship and now also Terrell Edmonds has just been because there hasn't been anybody there. The position has been pretty productive in the past. And obviously there was some risk. If there wasn't risk, I feel they'd be drafted higher. And we don't need to get into how bad of a strategy that probably was. But I think that Sidney Brown landing in Philadelphia is obviously great, as we've discussed already. I think the question I really want to pose is, does this hurt Terrell Edmonds or does it hurt Reed Blankenship? I think it's almost a lock that it hurts Reed Blankenship. And so it's not a coin flip by any means. But like we discussed earlier, Sidney Brown is a very physical, in the box kind of safety. And in the past, that has been Terrell Edmonds' cup of tea. And so are they just going to have Terrell Edmonds and Sidney Brown both out there on the field? Or are they going to have Sidney Brown out there with Reed Blankenship? Maybe there's a simpler answer to this question than what I think in my head, but it's at least something worth asking to start off with.
Yeah, John, do you think who gets taken out here? Who gets shoved off the mountain to make room for your Canadian brother?
Yeah, I think it's Blankenship.
I think there was a Freudian slip there.
Sorry, yeah. I just think teams value experience. Terrell Edmonds has been a starter in the league for a while now. I don't think they would bench him in favor of a Reed Blankenship. And Edmonds, to his credit, he might not be the best IDP, but he's a solid safety, and he's done a lot of things. He could play in the slot, he could play deep. So there's room for both him and Sidney Brown. But yeah, I worry about Reed Blankenship for sure.
Sidney Brown's one of the better tackling safeties in the league, or in this class. 320 college tackles. That was 6.4 tackles per game. Also one of the better athletes too, 9.68 RAS score. So, and this was a safety class that was not very athletic. We talked about that.
We did the combine recap.
Right. Just not a lot of special athletes in this class.
Jake, I saw your eyebrows kind of jump when John said that this was going to probably be his number 1 rookie safety. You don't feel obligated with the Canadian sitting next to you, but are you as high on Sidney Brown as the person to your right is?
It's up there. It's him or Jordan battle at this point, and I mean, I had some Canadian candy this weekend, so that might skew me.
It's kind of we're rising
right
on these people to the north,
and I just ate a bunch of it, so I'm just probably riding that Canadian high right now. But yeah, he's definitely up there, top 2 for sure. Something that I really wonder for Sidney Brown in Philadelphia too is, what is this going to mean with the linebacking room that they have there right now too? They have Nakobe Dean and they have Nicholas Morrow. They're both. Well, Morrow's obviously proven, he can do it. He's a pro. He's been doing this for long enough now. But Nakobe Dean is relatively unproven. Maybe they want to have someone like Edmonds, in the box more that can help guide the defense a little bit more. The linebacking room leaves a little bit of ambiguity, and 2 guys in Edmonds and Brown who have done that enough and played there enough can help add to that and add some, I guess, raise the floor there a little bit for that space on the field for him.
Yeah, and John, what do we know about the Eagles' new defensive coordinator? I believe it's Sean Desai.
Right.
Is that right? What do we know? Do we know anything about this guy? Any tendencies at all? Or is it just complete mystery box with this guy being a new DC?
Yeah. I mean, he was with the Eagles previously, right? Mm-hmm. So you see a lot of the times guys will adopt the same scheme, not exactly the same, but very similar tendencies. They'll make it their own. So we could see a very similar scheme to what we already saw with Gannon there. So I don't want to say for sure. I haven't dug too deep into Desai's history, but that's definitely something to consider.
I would expect it to stay relatively similar
close,
to what we saw last year. and then evolve if he stays in that role longer than 1 year. Let's talk about the next guy here on our list. We've already mentioned him a little bit, gentlemen, so let's just keep it rolling. Jordan Battle, safety, Cincinnati Bengals. We kind of wondered with the two stalwarts there, both out the door. Von Bell to Carolina, Jesse Bates to the Falcons on like $1 billion deal. Congrats again to Jesse Bates for getting the bag this offseason when no other safety really got paid at all. Kind of crazy. But with those two guys gone, we knew Dax Hill was going to step up. Nick Scott came over from, I believe, the Rams, right, to fill one of those roles. But we see Jordan Battle landing in Cincinnati as well. Addie, what was your take on Mr. Battle landing in Cincinnati opposite Dax Hill?
Yeah, this was a great fit. I mean, obvious need for them with all the safeties leaving town. But, yeah, you hate it for Nick Scott. That was a fun month we had there drafting him in the best balls. So it's a shame. Pour one out.
We will always look at these players through a different lens doing these best balls.
That's
now.
right.
Our heart will break a little more for the Nick Scotts of the world.
March to April. That was a great time for Nick Scott.
Nick Scott's best ball relevance,
Yeah.
March to April 2023.
That's the tombstone. Yeah.
Gone but never forgotten.
Yeah. What was your Dynasty Planet exposure on Nick Scott?
Off
Evan?
the dome, it was probably like 20-something%.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Don't ask me about another player that we're going to talk about later, though.
No. We will have to talk about
Terrell
it, I'm
Bernard?
afraid. Yeah. All right. Evan needs a moment here. Jake, you said that maybe Sidney Brown cracks this, upper tier of rookie safeties. Jordan Battle also in the mix as well, it sounds like, for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is 1,400 snaps just between Von Bell and Jesse Bates, the billionaire who had left. Dax Hill still relatively unproven as well. So I mean, he's not written in stone there either. Even if Nick Scott somehow as the veteran takes the lead, there's nothing really stopping Battle from stepping in there. But Battle did so much to play from that deep position primarily at times in Alabama that his ability to read and react on plays to me was one of the best in the class. And I think that that's just something that not having that veteran presence is something they're really going to look for. And I'm projecting a bit here, but I mean, that's what we're all doing here. And I think he's just going to stand out in that role. And I'm really excited to see what he can do on the actual NFL field. I think he's going to translate very well to this next level. And I'm excited to see what he can do.
I'm running through some names here, John. And again, I want to preach patience and tempering expectations because I remember saying on this show, John, Rodney McLeod, before I knew how to pronounce his name, is not going to keep Nick Cross off the field. Cut Clark is not going to keep Kyle Hamilton off the field. And at least for Nick Cross, that is exactly what happened. So as much as we love these landing spots, I don't want to put the rose-colored glasses on too much and say, oh, my gosh, look at Jordan Battle for sure lining up alongside Dax Hill. I think we need to probably expect for these veterans to get the nod to start the season and hope that these guys work into the mix as the year goes along.
Yeah, sure. I think that's fair. I mean, you never want to, guarantee anything like that, but
I don't want to be hurt again,
right,
John.
Yeah. And to be fair, Nick Cross stopped Nick Cross from getting on the field.
That is true.
Yeah. But
did not stop me from planting a flag.
That's true. But Jordan Battle, the one good thing I will say about him is one of the more experienced safeties in this class too. Over 3,000 defensive snaps at Alabama over the last 4 years. Graded really well in coverage and all aspects of the defense as well. So I'm with Jake. I think there's a really good chance that he has a shot to start. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but you look at everything that he's done at a very high level at Alabama on such a large sample size. I think that speaks volumes for his experience and what he could bring to a defense, and especially a safety room that's fairly inexperienced as well, even as a rookie. So there is a lot to like. But yeah, of course, nothing's guaranteed.
That is a good level of experience. And I know you've been doing some work on building some different models, and experience seems to be a quality that translates from college to the pros, which is like, well, yeah, duh. But also, when we're looking at the vast array of things that do matter, experience, it seems like really kind of pushes up to the top of that list.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of popped out to me. I don't have like a solid, finished analysis on it, but it definitely popped out as one of the more important things, especially for linebackers, being experienced at the position, seeing everything, and I think that it can very much translate to safeties as well. Because
Can't hurt.
Yeah, playing in different coverages and obviously being able to understand when to pass off and pick up different players and things like that in coverage is all important. So, yeah.
Let's keep it rolling, boys, and talk about our second landing spot that was less than ideal. It was Keion White, the edge rusher, landing in New England. Addy, I think this was just one of a handful of cases that we've seen in recent years of an IDP that we like landing in New England and us going, oh, crap, Bill Belichick is about to torture us with this player for the entirety of his career, potentially.
Yeah, he didn't seem too happy about it either. They were showing the close-ups of him.
Was that him that looked very, very upset?
He looks mean anyway, but he didn't seem to smile at all after they, showed that he was drafted. So
maybe he had the "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend" song playing in his head.
I just don't think anyone wants to go play there. It's just it's a tense atmosphere. It seems.
I think you knew that, right? It's like it was very odd because you see most of these guys jumping up and down, slapping their teammates, hugging their mamas, their girlfriends. We won't talk about what happened in Lukas Van Ness's draft room, but usually these are very festive atmospheres, and I think his reaction is one shared by IDP managers based on this landing spot.
Yeah. But he is a beast. 6'4", 285, 34-inch arms, 9.92 RAS score. Was, decently productive in college, played at Georgia Tech. He gets to, be alongside Christian Barmore, who I know our boy Macri's a big fan of.
Got Josh Uche there.
Yeah.
Got Matthew Judon there.
Keion White was a little older. He's 24.3, so he should be he should be ready, hopefully. But Patriots seem to be a little hesitant to put those young guys in right away. So I would expect another 2-3 years. Same with Barmore. I figured we'd see more from Barmore at this point, but they're just hosed there.
It's just New England, man. It's just New England. Evan, and that is what I think is just like, I've had a rule throughout my years playing fantasy. I don't roster New England Patriots because I'm a Colts fan. I'd rather lose not having Pats than win with them. But for IDP, it's actually worked out pretty well so far not to draft New England Patriots.
Yeah, dude, the guy looked like he got drafted to go to war.
It really did. The man was very upset.
I don't blame him. Bill Belichick is a great defensive coach, but he's not exactly known for fostering a wholesome player-loved environment. Yeah, man, it's tough. And like you talked about, not really liking Patriots players. Same kind of goes for Patriots analysis on my end. Usually when it comes to looking through all the game logs.
You always skip it, right? You're just like, whatever.
I'd rather just not.
That's probably a good call as a team you don't want to try and guess.
Yeah.
You're going to be let down. If you're optimistic, you're going to be made to look dumb.
Now, I will say, maybe after this season, we see that there is some best ball value in some of these highly volatile New England assets because their value is absolutely being depressed by the fact that they're in New England. But if you only get them on their good weeks, then, perhaps maybe there's some value there. But for Keion White, rookies, he's not going to be a guy I'm drafting.
He was also a tight end initially. It says he was a tight end as a freshman.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Addy,
62 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks as a sophomore. So right after he converted. So, we'll see. He's got some nice upside. That is amazing athleticism he has as well, like I mentioned earlier. So
I'm glad you all got to witness an Addy pivot in real time. Yeah, he landed in New England. He seemed very upset, but
that
production.
And what was the draft capital?
Guy.
It was a second.
That's
solid capital.
Yep.
But I agree. It's New England. It's New
Yeah,
England. We don't like it.
Are we taking this guy in our rookie drafts?
No, absolutely not.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think he's someone that you can kind of expect to probably be there undrafted for you. You can pick up on waivers. I don't feel like a lot of people are going to be in on Keion White. I didn't see a lot of buzz about it before the draft. And still, there were plenty enough edge guys to get drafted ahead of him. I don't know.
Yeah. Just stinks. It's a
Yeah.
stinky situation.
I'm trying to think
there,
like
Bill.
last year, like some of the second round guys, like Boye Mafe, like he was definitely like a 5th round pick in rookie drafts. Like,
That's true.
He'll be in the same range.
Yeah, New England
Josh
might
Pascal, same,
suppress him out of the rookie draft.
I think so.
So let's switch over to linebacker now and talk about an ideal landing spot. And let's talk about one of the players I was excited about. Just seemed like this dude checked a lot of boxes. It was Dorian Williams, linebacker, landing with the Buffalo Bills. Evan, cover your ears, because does this spell the end of Terrell Bernard, John? That's what we want to get into. This guy got pretty decent draft capital. We like the mega producer out of Tulane. He lands in a spot where, yes, Bernard is there. Matt Milano's back on a reworked deal, but it seems like he will be in the mix and have a chance to contribute.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely have a shot. I mean, Terrell Bernard was a 3rd-round pick last year as well, right? So I think these guys are both going to get a chance to compete, obviously. But
You give the edge probably to Bernard because he's been there. He knows the system.
Yep. Yeah, it's you know, again, it's you never want to guarantee anything. You never want to, put a stamp on a player and tell them, say that they're done for. Because Terrell Bernard still should have a shot. They both bring different qualities. Terrell Bernard is this kind of very speedy linebacker. Dorian Williams a little bit more methodical, not very aggressive as a linebacker. So it depends on what the coaching staff is looking for, what they like about a player, right?
Who pairs well with Matt Milano is a good
exactly.
question as well. So of these two guys, which one do you think maybe works best alongside the handsome one in Buffalo?
Man, it's a good question. I don't think we saw Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano work together last year, because Terrell Bernard was the Matt Milano replacement when he was injured, but Tremaine Edmonds had Tyrell Dotson.
I think so.
That replaced him. So, yeah, it could go either way. I mean,
So you're saying maybe they saw Bernard as a bit duplicative with what Milano was giving them, and so they wanted a little something, a little different flavor
could be.
with Dorian Williams.
Yeah.
Evan, this is not
Something
trending
to
well
think
for you,
about.
my friend. Look, we've got Terrell Bernard in the draft kit, so we're gonna have to figure out, Jake.
Yeah.
Are we gonna sub out Terrell Bernard, as I think he was in there as a sleeper candidate? But Dorian Williams landing there, very good spot for the Tulane product.
Yeah, I think this goes back to a lot of the theme that we're picking up, past round one, is there's value here for these guys, but is it year one value? And I don't know that we'll realize it right away. The big thing that I think would stand out for me is I love what I saw from Dorian Williams in coverage. That's the one thing where I think he can really outshine Terrell Bernard. And obviously, I know we all hear the narrative in media that it's a pass happy league, and that's the way teams are going to trend towards. And if that's what Buffalo wants, and that's what they're valuing alongside Milano, presumably. I mean, I can't imagine it's someone else. Williams might have the edge, but you got to give Bernard the edge going in year one here.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would still give the edge to Bernard, but I am nervous, Addy.
Yeah, I think you should be. I'm Dorian Williams, baby. All aboard. 15.6% tackle rate in college. That was career. That was second behind Bumper Pool on this linebacker list.
Wait, did Bumper Pool get drafted?
UDFA.
UDFA?
UDFA, oh no.
Sir.
Has he landed anywhere yet?
Yes,
Do we
sir.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did go somewhere. Where did
Yeah,
he go?
I can't
Carolina or
remember.
something?
But yeah, Dorian Williams, man, the way he produces last year, 132 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. As a sophomore, he had 97 tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. So if he gets a chance,
Hop on the train,
like
baby.
the way he produces, that tackle rate is very nice. Like he's got a chance to be absurd. Like, I mean, it reminds me a lot of like Nick Bolton. Truly, I think he's going to be someone you can get in like the 4th or 5th round, and I could see him being potentially like the most productive linebacker of the group.
Okay, Evan, I've watched you die inside ever since we started this discussion. Are you coming around on D. Will? Are you holding out hope for Bernard? Are you just wanting to lick your wounds right now? What's going through your mind, young king?
Man, I think y'all need to take a chill pill. I think y'all need to relax a little bit. Okay, so I will say.
I think if we relax, we might fall asleep. So we're gonna try to stay on edge.
chill pill.
You know what, Addy? Yeah, obviously. Okay, so got my exposure pulled up. So this is coming from somebody who has a 64% exposure to Terrell Bernard.
Isn't that
across
like your
14.
second highest?
Yeah. Guess who my fourth highest is? Reed Blankenship.
Oh, no. This is a bad weekend for Evan, y'all.
Yeah, I set myself up for disappointment.
So
So
we stuffed him with fried food and took him out to the golf course today.
yeah, and then I
Hit a lot of
Didn't do
balls.
too well.
Yeah, hit a lot of balls
right.
into the woods.
yeah, we spent about 7.5 hours playing golf.
Yeah.
Something like
Could
that.
have probably been 4 if I didn't try and find all of them.
Yeah. Well, I just hope you're not allergic to poison ivy.
So we will
We'll find out. That's
Yeah, we
right.
will.
So I got to pull up this tweet from Joe Buscaglia over here from The Athletic, who basically says, Bills GM Brandon Beane says, quote, Terrell Bernard will definitely get a chance to compete for that Mike spot, end quote. Also mentioned that A.J. Klein, Tyrell Dodson, and Braylon Spector. They haven't ruled out Dorian Williams yet, but added that it's a big transition from college, and then says, quote, we're not going to predetermine who's going to win or anything like that. But he called Dodson, quote, the leader of the clubhouse, only because Dodson has the most experience at middle linebacker in their system. So take it with a grain of salt because it's draft season and it's narrative season, so they're going to say what they're going to say, but that is a lot of interesting information, and maybe the ultimate conclusion of this entire conversation is, are we underrating Tyrell Dodson?
Could be. I think this is a good time to, Addie, point out something Sig said on our show last week, or this past week, which was, when it comes time for rookie mini camps and training camps, throw out your priors and listen to the drumbeat. This is one of those situations where I think the drumbeat will be very important to pay attention to because there's some real opportunity here alongside Milano.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you're, expecting your rookies to come in and produce and, be some type of league-winning asset, you're probably going to be let down. It's just not the way it usually goes. And, even if they do end up getting opportunity, normally it's like the second half of the season, right? It's not going to be immediately. So they usually don't pay off taking, rookies like that high in redraft.
Yeah, just be patient. And
But yes, it's Dorian Williams season, folks.
all right, there you go. Sorry, Evan. Dorian Williams' season has begun. Terrell Bernard's season is over before it began. Rest in peace to your best ball shares. Let's move to the next guy here, another linebacker that we are very excited for around this table. It is Daiyan Henley, the linebacker, landing with the Los Angeles Chargers alongside Eric Kendricks. John, Bobo not here tonight, but we know he is possibly the world's biggest Daiyan Henley stan. And I felt like with this landing spot alongside Kendricks, couldn't have done much better for Mr. Henley.
It's a really nice one. I mean, especially when you consider that, like, how poor Kenneth Murray has been and how much of a letdown he's been as a first-round pick. Like, they declined his fifth-year option.
That
you mentioned it earlier.
It's true, yep.
Yeah, so there's absolutely an opportunity there for Daiyan Henley to come in and steal that number 2 linebacker spot away from Kenneth Murray. He just hasn't been able to do it.
I would
Murray, he's
expect
just
him
been-
to do that.
yeah.
I think this is one of those situations, like if I'm making a call on who can get supplanted by the rookie, give me the guy whose option they just declined. I think the team is sending a very clear message of like, dude, you're not part of our future, so we're not going to have any trouble replacing you if this kid can come in and play.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Henley just showed a lot. He's again another guy that's pretty new to the position, former wide receiver, and he can cover like he is a wide receiver. So that's a big positive for him. Hopefully that translates to the NFL. But Kenneth Murray, just too many red flags as far as being a consistent NFL starter. I am concerned that he's on his way out, and that means the rise of Daiyan Henley. That we love that, obviously, because we're all big Daiyan Henley fans, Bobo especially. So we love to see it.
Get on board the Daiyan Henley train, Jake, and let's ride it to a 3rd-round rookie pick, 4th-round rookie pick. What are you doing here with Mr. Henley in rookie drafts?
He's not the speedy, undersized linebacker that I was hoping to be talking about at this point. But yes, Henley, I could get behind a mid to probably late 3rd round on them.
Okay.
I think the really big thing that he brings to the Chargers defense is he's for his size, he is such a sure tackler. Had one of the lowest missed tackling rates, one of the best tackling grades. And this defense for the Chargers at times has really just tried to be a run funnel defense, right? You know we got the coverage skills on the outside. We're going to keep everything kind of controlled and in front of us. So we just need someone who can step up and be a sure tackler and make, the offense make the mistakes, and then we can make plays maybe around that. And Kenneth Murray didn't allow him to do that. Kenneth Murray made too many mistakes out on the field too many times. And so, yeah, Henley is someone I think that John's spot on. He could very quickly challenge for that LB2 role. And I mean, maybe he's one that's challenging for that spot week 1 already.
Eddie, I'm very excited to say adios, Kenneth Murray. You betrayed me with my flag plant 2 years ago. You're the Nick Cross of the linebacker position to me. And welcome in, Mr. Daiyan Henley.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great spot. I mean, it's just Eric Kendricks there, and Eric Kendricks is, I think, 31 at this point.
And you've said before you think you maybe see some signs of slippage from this guy.
Absolutely. We've seen the best of Eric Kendricks. I mean, the PFF grades have been dipping, I think, the last probably 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, I mean, and what if Kendricks gets hurt, He was hobbled last year. I mean, that could easily happen. So, I mean.
Yeah, he's early, mid-30s. What's
Yeah.
He's getting up there.
31, yeah.
Oh, is he that? Okay, he's not as old as I thought. I thought maybe he was 32, 33.
Still, that's old.
He's feeling it.
Yeah.
As we know. None of us are getting any younger.
Yeah. So
the
I
young
like
king
that.
maybe.
I like that. I think that's a good spot for him. Defensive-minded head coach, one of the brighter defensive minds in the league. So, I mean, you kind of like that this was a guy that he wanted. So, and they don't do that much, I mean, has he drafted someone since he's been there? I don't know that it was Murray part of.
That's what I was trying to remember. Was Kenneth Murray a Brandon Staley selection?
I don't think he was.
I think he inherited.
After,
yes,
So I mean, this
Staley.
is the first linebacker they've drafted.
Yep.
He's drafted
because Tranquil was already there. Murray was already there.
Yep. Didn't they let Tranquil go for peanuts? I mean,
could have brought him back pretty easily.
I think so.
This feels like a let me go get my guys at linebacker finally.
So I like this. I like that a lot. I think you got to feel good about that for Dynasty too.
I'll also add for redraft purposes. I mean, behind Jack Campbell, is there another linebacker in this class that you think has as good a chance to produce year 1?
I mean, I think it's
probably not.
I think it's Henley. I have 302 and 303 in our main RSO league. I would love for Henley to be there for me to select him. I don't know if he's getting past Bobby at the end of the second round, man. And obviously Bobby's a unique case. But if I'm sitting there, I'm pretty well set at linebacker. But, man, I think this could be a guy that we're saying, rookie kind of IDP MVP for us if the season goes the way we think. The stars have just aligned for Daiyan Henley. We love the fit. We love the coaching staff putting their stamp of approval on this guy. And I agree with you, Evan. I think year 1 contributors, I would put Henley alongside maybe one notch down from Jack Campbell at the top of that list. So I'm excited to see what this guy can do. This is one where I feel a little more juice than maybe I did with some of the other guys we've talked about so far. But not as much juice around this next guy here. Another not so ideal landing spot. It is Brian Branch, the safety, landing with the Detroit Lions. And John, I think this one comes down to a couple different things. We didn't get the draft capital we were hoping for. No safeties went in the first round. Mm-hmm. And Branch lands in a revamped Detroit secondary where we have some real questions about what position this guy is going to be playing.
Yeah, played a ton of slot at Alabama, and it feels like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson might go back to that slot role in Detroit, reuniting with his old defensive coordinator with the Saints, which is what he played a lot there. But there could still be a role for Brian Branch, but it's that kind of ambiguity around it,
yeah.
And being, I guess technically, if we're gonna call him a safety, he was the first safety taken.
Yes.
If we're not, then he's a corner. But we don't know what's happening with Tracy Walker's Achilles. We don't know if he'll be back to start the season. Kirby Joseph, we don't really know how they feel about him. He was fine as a rookie, but Brian Branch, very much like Jordan Battle, very experienced and performed really well at Alabama. So it's not like he's some schlub off the streets. Like he'll still be a very good player. Again, it just might not be year one because they have so many bodies in that defensive backfield.
Jake, I kind of just want to see what they're going to do with this guy. I think right now we're a little bit dampened because of just those question marks around what to expect with his role. I kind of just want to see it on the field before I invest a whole lot in this guy.
Yeah, the ambiguity is one of those things where, from a big game theory standpoint, right? Is it do you buy into this because the value will never be lower for him? So you get into him now, and you look at someone like a Tracy Walker who is like coming off the Achilles. Is he done? Maybe he's got a little bit more left in him. Kirby Joseph seemed kind of pigeonholed into that deep role, so he doesn't have as much flexibility. And then you have, Gardner Johnson and Branch, and maybe they can do a bit more rotation, right? So you can still see some of those high-value snaps in our sweet spot, where you can be in the slot, maybe he comes up into the box a little bit. But it's hard, right? Because at Alabama, he played nearly 75% of his snaps in the slot role, specifically this last year. So he really does get pegged as that slot or nickel corner at times. I like the talent a bit. I probably won't buy into the low point of it, but if someone wanted to, if you see something you like, this is probably the best time for you to do it as well in that regard.
So Jake's not necessarily buying the dip, Addy, but I just want to pour one out because this really muddies the water for CD Deuce as well.
Yeah, but it was just a 1-year deal for him. So
I know, but just coming off the beautiful renaissance this man had with Philadelphia, who, what kind of player Philadelphia could use right now?
Yeah.
A CD Deuce, a CJ Gardner Johnson. So we need to send the opposite of a fruit basket to this guy's agent for getting him a 1-year prove-it deal coming off that season.
Yeah. I still feel like Brian Branch is going to probably get decent draft capital in your rookie drafts. I mean, he was the first safety drafted. I think a lot of people probably think this is a really good landing spot, because I don't think a lot of people are probably familiar with Kirby Joseph, and I don't know. I'm not interested.
It's a weird one, right? Like, it feels very much like Jalen Petre last year, where he was very much a nickel corner in college. We didn't know how he was going to be utilized with the Texans. He came in and, they kind of moved him around a little bit to try to figure out where he'd fit best, and ended up being great for IDP, obviously. But so, I mean, there's a range of outcomes for sure with Brian Branch. So I guess it's just the unknown. We can't really peg him down just yet until we know a little bit more about what the defense is going to look like. But there's value in ambiguity, like you guys said. But at the same time, it's far from a sure thing.
Yeah, so y'all heard it here first, folks. 2023 safety one. Brian Branch.
Yep.
You heard him comped. You all heard this, right? Jalen Petre comp.
16 whatever points per game.
Yes, it's amazing. Now, we'll say what helped, of course, Petre was 2 linebackers that were cheeks in front of him, and we have
a whole defense that was cheeks.
Yeah, there's just massive cheeks all around. Now we've got Addy's, I'm going to say, Dynasty LB 10. Jack Campbell?
Yeah.
Pretty close.
I think you're probably right on.
Yeah, so
probably a little higher.
Getting into that beautiful brain right now. But yeah, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with Brian Branch.
Let's talk about that right now real fast while we're thinking about it. Do you want Jack Campbell or do you want Logan Wilson?
Jack Campbell.
What about Dre Greenlaw or Jack Campbell?
Jack Campbell.
Fred Warner, Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell.
Quay Walker or Jack Campbell?
Jack Campbell.
How about you guys? Quay Walker or Jack Campbell?
That's a tough one.
I like Campbell. I really like Campbell.
When
so
you
it's
get
just
to that
barely,
point, yeah.
So with how hard it is to answer these questions,
I like Warner and Greenlaw.
Yeah, with how hard it is to answer
you would
these
take
questions,
Warner and Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Okay,
that should tell you. I mean, yes, Jack Campbell has arrived already. I mean, he's, probably like a top 8 option.
I think he's probably top 1 at this point, Evan.
I got to piggyback off what Macri said, because there's a reason why he's saying he prefers Warner and Greenlaw, right? They weren't necessarily mentioned back-to-back, but they both play on the same defense, and the defense you play on has a significant impact on how valuable you are for IDP. I mean, you play the game to win, right? And so if you get a player that's valuable for Dynasty, right, they're talented, but if they're in a defense that's not going to get them producing as an LB1 on a season-by-season basis, maybe we might be overrating the talent there. I personally have been lower on Jack Campbell, I think, than the rest of the table had been on draft night. And there's a reason for that Macri mentioned, which is the rate at which that defense calls man coverage versus the league average or just versus some other more favorable landing spots. Anybody can produce on a week-by-week basis, but when we're trying to project production, right? When we're trying to project production, we want to try and look at some of these metrics that are correlated to tackle efficiency. And so I don't want to step on Macri's feet here. This is really all from his brain, but it's an important note. I don't want to, pour water on the fire that is Jack Campbell, because I love him too. He's a great player, but I don't want to, come out of the gate swinging saying he's beaten everybody out, because there's a reason why he's not the absolute tippity top.
Making me proud. Just crying.
I know.
Hey, you said range of outcomes earlier. You talked about opportunity costs and stuff. I'm just trying to return the favor.
Hey, look, we're just happy that Alex Anzalone is soon going to be turned into dust. So let us have this. All right, let us have this, guys.
He was pretty good last year, old Alex Anzalone.
Not anymore, because
Campbell's
in the building.
I think you got to feel good about that. I mean, we've seen someone be very productive there in Anzalone, and Malcolm Rodriguez, when he got his opportunity for that first half of the season, he was very productive.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't know. I think Campbell could be really nice. Scheme be damned.
Yeah, let's let the
scheme boys.
Let the potato chips and the
Forget
ham
your
sandwich.
numbers. I just watched the tape.
Adam's
He got that dog in him.
He's nothing if not a tape dog. Well, let's talk about another guy here on the list and shift over to a winner, Young King. I think you were the one who brought this player up. It is Byron Young, edge, Los Angeles Rams, and I think the main selling point here of Young King, is that the Rams is just cheeks, and so this young man's going to have an opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Now, there's two Byron Youngs in the draft, so this is the one that is from Tennessee, and it's pretty simple. They had not a lot of draft picks in these recent years, and the second pick that they used in this draft, they spent on Byron Young. Now, it was a third-round pick, but they didn't have a first-rounder, and so that has to mean something. They lost Leonard Floyd this year. They really don't have very much talent anywhere on that team. I don't want to hate too much because these guys are obviously infinitely better at football than I am, so that's not where I'm coming from. But it's just the fact that I'm trying to project usage. I'm trying to see, is there a chance that this guy can get on the field year one? And if so, will he be productive? It seems like there's a good chance he gets on the field year one. And based on what I've seen from people that are much smarter than I am when it comes to just kind of looking at prospects, analyzing their abilities, there have been a lot of people that really like him. And so I'm willing to trust those people, and I'm willing to trust the Rams scouting staff for spending a third-round pick on him and see whether or not he can get a chance to get some points.
It's incredibly cruel to someone trying to create title graphics that you have Byron Young of Alabama on the defensive line going 70th overall, and then Byron Young of Tennessee on the defensive line going 77th overall. So, yes, we have the Alabama player in the title card. I apologize. But, John, this guy is third-round draft pick, so decent draft capital, but landing spot. Anyone with the Los Angeles Rams, we just have to draw attention to the fact that this team has so many holes that there's going to be a lot of opportunity to be had for young guys.
Yeah, if the Rams had more draft capital, and had picks in the first or the second round, they could have got some really good players, maybe even players that were potentially closer to being finished products than Byron Young. And Byron Young was solid in college, but again, still very much a project, an explosive kind of player there. He's got the tools, right? But again, it's opportunity. That's the main thing. And you look at the edge rushers for the Rams, and it is shocking how
you could make up like 5 names right now, and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like the Rams edge rushing group.
Jon Macri.
Yep. I had him at some point last year.
He's a rookie. He's actually one they brought in. But like Keir
Oh,
Thomas,
you weren't kidding. Okay, yeah. Wow.
yeah. Keir Thomas, Daniel Hardy. I mean, Michael Hecht is definitely going to start because he's somehow the most experienced player on the edge. But
He's looking around like, damn, guys, why y'all putting me in this
man.
spot? I'm not ready for this.
Wait, that's how it's pronounced, Hecht?
I thought it was Hoyt.
is it Hoyt?
I thought so.
We're going with
Oh
Heck.
yeah.
What the heck?
What the
Heck?
heck? Michael Heck.
Can we take
I
a
have
sec?
no
I'm
idea.
sorry. Can we take a sec to also talk about, I don't want to cut you off, Christian Roseboom.
Right.
We were just talking about this on the car ride back from going golfing, but the Rams did not really add at the linebacker position in this draft. So it is Ernest Jones, and he's looking around like Will Smith in that, living room. There's nobody else there.
Yeah.
Christian Roseboom, is he the guy? Is he going to be a relevant IDP player this season?
There are some linebackers still out there, right?
Yeah, the free agent. I'm not buying it. I mean, if you're gonna get him, you get him for free. Literally nothing. Don't try to trade for him if somebody already has him. Just literally just get him for free. Jake Gervais is another one. It could be that guy.
Is that Ricky's brother? Ricky Gervais? Jake Gervais?
Yeah.
What a talented family these Gervaises are. Oh, but Addy, I think the point we're trying to make here is that whether he's from Tennessee or Alabama with 70th or 77th, when you land with the Rams, you're landing in a primo spot.
Yep. He gets one of the best players in football to learn from.
I feel the same about Ernest Jones.
One of the older prospects, he's 25 years old, but he had one hell of a combine. He is 6'2", 250. He ran a 4.40 broad jump of 1,100. That was one of the best. So, yeah, that speaks to his explosion like Macri was talking about, 9.22 RAS score. Yeah, who knows? I mean, but that's good capital, and yeah, I think someone that would probably, be there available for you after your drafts. So
All right.
Free little dart throw.
Nice dart throw. Probably going to be a UDFA for post-rookie drafts. I like it, Addy. I'm just going to keep the solo camera on you because we are moving to the next player on our list, and it is Derek Hall, Seahawks edge rusher, one of your favorite guys in this draft, and lands in a pretty good spot opposite Uchenna Nwosu.
Yeah, I really like Derek Hall out of Auburn. 6'3", 254, 34.5-inch arms. He ran a 4.57 40. He had a 9.40 RAS score. Pretty productive too in college. Last year he had in 12 games he had 60 tackles, 11 TFLs, 6.5 sacks. Year before that he had 52 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. So yeah, the draft capital was pretty surprising. I mean, going 37th overall. I mean, that makes him like the 6th or 7th edge rusher off the board. So I love that. I mean, the obvious comparison, with him being from Auburn, kind of like reminds me a little bit of Carl Lawson. High motor, really good at getting to the quarterback, decent tackler, which is kind of unlike Lawson. So yeah, I'm optimistic, and I love the landing spot. I mean, Seattle, that was a team that I think everyone thought was going to get maybe a Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson. Didn't happen, and really all that's there is, obviously Uchenna is going to be safe, but Boye Mafe, who knows what he's going to be. Derek Hall is going to give him some real competition, and, I could easily see him being the guy. I think Boye was drafted a little bit later in the second round last year, so Hall's got him in the capital department.
Outside of drafting a million running backs, Jake, the Seahawks did settle for Derek Hall as their edge rushing consolation prize. You've been working on the rookie rankings for the IDP Show Draft Kit. Free plug, dropping Monday, May 1st, y'all, so look forward to that. What are you thinking now? It feels like Derek Hall might be a riser in the rankings with this landing spot.
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, and there's some other guys that came in later in there. I mean, the Seahawks clearly wanted to address defensive line. They brought in Mike Morris and someone else from the interior in the 5th round. This is what they want to do. They want to get better there. But they felt like they had too much value on the offensive side to pass on that, except for Zach Charbonnet. But I won't try to figure that out at this point or ever. But yes, Hall is going to probably rise up pretty significantly. I did not have the Addy love for him coming into this one, but I can definitely see how he can deliver for us, in terms of his rookie year, in the following years coming forward with the Seattle Seahawks. It's a clear path to starting by year 2 and possibly heavy rotational use already here in year 1.
John, we talked about BJ Ojulari a little earlier, a player you weren't as high on, but landing in a nice spot. Do we see maybe here a player that you do like landing in a good spot, or what's your temperature right now on Derek Hall?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was literally just thinking the same thing with BJ Ojulari. And yeah, I prefer Derek Hall, the player, even though the landing spot might not be as ideal, like as opportunistic as it would be with Arizona. There's just a lot more to like about the player. And yeah, Addy nailed it all. I don't need to go over it again, but yeah, for Dynasty, a lot of the times we want to bet on the talent more so than the opportunity. That's, opportunity can be a nice tiebreaker if the talent is close, but when I'm doing Dynasty rankings and things like that, I often look at the talent levels, and that's more of a tiebreaker for me than like year 1 opportunity, for example.
You said Addy nailed it. It sounds like a round of golf.
Oh, yeah.
And an IDP podcast discussion.
Yeah.
At Tip, thank you very much. And let's keep it rolling, though, fellas, and talk about our final guy on the list. It is the less than ideal landing spot, and we're taking it all the way back to round 1. It was a guy we talked about a little bit in the moment, but now that we've had more time to stew on it, Will McDonald, the 4th edge, landing with the New York Jets, is not ideal for me, at least, Young King, because this guy lands in a very crowded edge rushing rotation, and it felt like he could have gone somewhere else where maybe there weren't as many people competing for snaps alongside him.
Yeah, this is a prime example of something we would call a great for real football, not so great for fantasy move. I think adding an edge here, maybe you can debate whether or not they should have drafted this specific one, but adding an edge here makes a great sense for the Jets. But for IDP, for fantasy, we are looking at projectable, consistent outcome, upside. And while the Jets did have a very successful pass rushing defensive line last season, they were, I believe, number 3 in the league according to PFF metrics, they don't really give a whole lot of volume to a specific player. And so as a fantasy manager, what we're looking for is somebody that we can throw in our starting lineup and trust that they are going to score points for us. And it's really hard to imagine that for Will McDonald on a defense that is full of so many guys, right? We've kind of talked about it before. They spent a first-round pick on Jermaine Johnson last year. Carl Lawson may or may not be there. They've got John Franklin Myers. They've got Bryce Huff, who they just gave a tender to. And all of these guys are going to garner a very serious and very respectable amount of snaps. And Will McDonald is going to have to earn his work there if he wants to be a viable and consistent fantasy producer.
Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson, Michael Clemens, Will McDonald, Bryce Huff, not to mention John Franklin Myers, Quinnen Williams. It's a very crowded room in New York right now. We know Robert Saleh, coming from San Francisco, loves to have these defensive line guys that he can rotate. So, like Evan said, while it may be a great move for the Jets in real football terms, IDP-wise, this one left me cold.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in Will McDonald, at least not early on. Now, I mean, none of those guys are, I don't think, anything to scare you long-term. And upside-wise, I mean, Will McDonald does have a ton of upside. I mean, he was athletically, he was great. 9.66 RAS score, 1,100 broad and a 36-inch vertical. So, I mean, he's got the tools, he's got the capital. He was productive in college. He was productive early on too. As a sophomore, he had 35 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and 10.5 sacks. So that was as a redshirt sophomore. So yeah, I'm not interested early on, but I'm optimistic. I mean, he's one of those guys that he scares me, right? Because I do see his upside, and he could be someone that we look at in a few years, and he's the second best, second or third best edge prospect or edge rusher in the class. So, yeah, I'm cautious with him.
Yeah, John, we were trying to figure out who this last kind of worst landing spot guy was going to be. And you said, can we go back to Will McDonald? Should we dip back into the first round? You were not hot in the pants for this landing spot when we first learned about it on Thursday. So, now that you've had some time to reflect on it, a lot of the same stuff I'm sure that Adam and Evan have mentioned are giving you pause with Old McDonald.
Yeah. So the crowded room is one thing, and when I put the edge model together, really liked Will McDonald. He has really good pass rush metrics, great production in college, and the RAS score and all that stuff. The concerns I have with him is that he is a smaller edge rusher, and he got washed out a lot in college, especially trying to defend the run. So playing him on early downs, there wasn't a clear kind of path to snaps for me to see him in the NFL playing on rundown. So that really killed his floor for me. And as much as he is like a good, kind of finesse pass rusher, and he could put production up in sacks, that's very boom bust for IDP purposes, right? And when you factor in the competition that he has for snaps already, especially like a John Franklin Myers or Carl Lawson, who are much better, bigger, stronger, maybe not so much Carl Lawson, but Jermaine Johnson is who I was thinking of, who was solid in run defense, and John Franklin Myers especially. I don't know that those early down snaps are going to be there for Will McDonald. You might see more of those kind of NASCAR packages with him, getting after the quarterback on passing downs. But again, it's not consistent production to rely on, at least for the first maybe couple of years that he's in the NFL.
Yeah, we could think we're talking about Norm McDonald here, Jake, because this landing spot feels like a joke. I can keep going all night, folks. It's McDonald's. I'm not loving it.
We haven't narrated.
So who's coming off 6.5 hours of golf? Not this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's fired up and ready to go. Jake, not as fired up about this landing spot.
I'm not in some ways. The one thing I do love is that
Be great if Jake was like, this is actually my favorite of the whole class.
All right, here we go, guys.
Yeah. Let me launch into my diatribe.
So the landing spot that he needed is somewhere where he can really stand up outside and really just rush off the edge outside the tackle. And he's going to be able to do that here, I think, with the New York Jets, which is great. And that's an awesome landing spot. It really comes down to, it's such a crowded room. I love what you said, John, about his lack of winning in the run game. The times I did see him win, it was almost exclusively with speed. And that's just not a consistent way, especially for IDP purposes, to find value. The one thing I want to ask to this table, and it's a reach, right? But are we seeing the Jets try to move into that Philadelphia Eagles model where they're going to have just this talent that they can just keep throwing out there, and they're going to find ways to be efficient, and as the Eagles were last year, hyper efficient with this, and you can actually have some real IDP value. Not saying that's this year, but is that kind of the model or space we see them moving into at some point?
Could be.
Or is that just we're shooting for the stars and that's the outlier and we really never even want to look at that as something we consider?
I think the hole I would poke in that theory is that I don't see the talent right now on this Jets line that Philadelphia had last year. So could they get there? Absolutely. They've invested a lot here. I mean, they traded up for Jermaine Johnson last year. They go get Will McDonald early in the first round. So, yes, I think they can get there. And there's still some moves they can make. They bring in Aaron Rodgers, pay him a lot of money, convert his, I think, salary into a signing bonus. So they've got a lot of money invested in Rodgers. Carl Lawson's been floated as a possible cut candidate connected to the Aaron Rodgers deal. So maybe there's a pathway to snaps that opens up for this guy. Addy, but I'm with you. I'm cautiously optimistic about McDonald.
Yeah, and one last thing. 48 career college games, just 125 tackles, 2.6 tackles per game for Will McDonald. That might be the lowest among all these edge guys. So, I mean, yeah, that's going to be – the floor is going to be not – great for Will McDonald, I'm afraid. I think, like you guys mentioned, I think he could just be a pass rush specialist, like a Yannick type. Maybe he can have one of those seasons where he, pops off for 12 to 14 tackles or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, I think you're probably going to see him be like a less than 50 tackle type guy.
Yeah, better for real-life NFL, maybe better for best ball, at least until we can see a role established for him alongside all of these guys with the New York Jets. So
just a weird group there. I mean, we like a lot of those guys, but none of those guys have really high draft capital. Like, none of them have been really that productive
it's
yet.
The Jermaine Pratt corollary where it's like, if we could just see these guys go somewhere else, maybe maybe they could realize their potential, at least for IDP. But right now, it's just like, it's a crowded room, Addy.
Yep.
We need fewer cooks in the kitchen. Gentlemen, around this table, that's the end of our list. But is there anyone else that we wanted to bring up as a favorite landing spot, as a guy who maybe didn't land in an ideal situation? John, I feel like this is the time right here now to talk about Ivan Pace Jr., your number 4 linebacker pre-draft, undrafted free agent, lands with Minnesota. So we like the team, but God, the Ghost is facing an uphill battle being a UFDA.
Yeah, it sucks. It would have been much better if it was like late day 2 capital, even early day 3 capital, but going to the Vikings was always the place that I liked him best, just because I think he fits that Brian Flores scheme really well in how he utilizes his linebackers. Ivan Pace was one of the best in college last year at blitzing, and even as a smaller linebacker, you just see his ability to do it on a consistent basis and to do it at a high rate. So I like that a lot. I mean, he plays close to the line of scrimmage as well, can play spy. He's got speed. He can cover, but yeah, it's just the landing spot or the draft capital. Sorry, not the landing spot. The landing spot's great, but not great draft capital, which is going to make it harder for him to maybe even make the team, or at the very least beat out Brian Asamoah, but or Jordan Hicks, whoever it happens to be. It's tough to do for these guys that go undrafted. Not that it can't happen. There's a lot of good undrafted free agent linebackers in the league. T.J. Edwards, Azeez Al-Shaair, Alex Singleton.
Yep.
So
it can happen. Yeah. It can, but I think we actually have audio of John finding out about this pick on the way back from the golf course.
Hey guys, somebody call 911. I don't feel so good.
We're going to get so much mileage out of that drop, and I absolutely love it. Thank you, Eric, again. Addy, one I wanted to tee you up on was Demarion Overshone. Got a pretty nice little landing spot as well.
Yeah, very nice. I mean, it's just Damone Clark and LVE.
We should have mentioned Dallas Cowboys landing spot.
Yes. So, I mean, that's a great spot. I mean, he was drafted 90th overall, so it's a 3rd-round pick. I mean, yeah, he was extremely productive last year in college, 12 games, 96 tackles, 10 TFLs, 4 sacks. I like him. I'm also I like what Tampa Bay did late. They got my boy Servassier Dennis, and that's a pretty bare linebacker room. I mean, especially likely next year. I mean, Devin White, he's been floated in all these trade talks, and either way, he's probably going to be gone. And then Levante David was just a 1-year deal. I think he's like 33 at this point. So, I mean, there's a path there for him. And also they brought in Yaya Diaby out of Louisville. So, another high RAS guy, 9.87 RAS. So, I kind of like those late picks that the Tampa Bay made.
All right. Young King, any landing spots you liked, didn't like? Anyone else you want to throw out before we wrap up?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of players that we've discussed, a couple of them that have had some landing spots that have been pretty cheeks. And speaking of cheeks, I think I wanted to circle back.
A lot of cheeks mentions tonight. I like it.
A lot of cheeks. And speaking of that, I wanted to circle back to a guy that we talked about a couple of days ago in Lukas Van Ness, because I cannot...
Evan, that transition was absolutely top tier. I have to compliment you. Absolute chef's kiss. If you were sitting on that one, my friend, thank you for holstering that until right now.
It's been in the holster for about 45 minutes. He is, oh my gosh, he's an absolute, like, it sounds weird to say this, but just like from one man to another man, he is an absolute specimen. Like, that guy is...
They call this dude Hercules for a reason.
He is huge. He's jacked. He's so good. I
think Evan might be in love, y'all.
We might
need to give him the room.
I might be. I don't like. I can't express this eloquently, but seeing him on the Packers, I'm imagining he's going to be an edge rusher. I don't really see him being on the interior. We've kind of discussed this a little bit. If he gets a full-time workload there, like, I don't know what Rashawn Gary's recovery looks like. Who knows how long Preston Smith is going to be there. Kingsley Enagbare is just a jag. But if Lukas Van Ness can actually secure a full-time workload there, I have to imagine that he is a dominant edge rusher for that team. Somebody that's going to be like franchise altering might be a little excessive, but like he's going to be a face of their defense for a long time. And I think he could be a kind of a player that just the entire Packers fandom just, circles around, kind of like a Clay Matthews type, because he is just a force on the field.
Absolutely smitten. Can't blame him. John, I did see a funny tweet that said recap of the Packers draft, and it was a screenshot of the wine section that said exciting whites. So Lukas Van Ness definitely falls into that collection of players that the Packers drafted.
Yeah, I would agree. He's going to be a good one. I'm not as excited about him for year one because I do
Have you looked at his body?
That's true. I haven't got
Give it
as
a peek.
close of a look at it as
Give it a
Evan
peek.
might have,
Yeah.
but it's impressive. That's for sure. So yeah, there's room for him to be a good player.
And he's like a versatile piece too. I think
Yeah.
he might kind of like a similar like a Zach Allen type. Like I feel like he can kick inside
Yeah.
a decent amount too. So
I think he can.
I think he's gonna do really well there.
Yeah. Any other landing spots around the table? Jake, any other landing spots that struck your fancy?
The other one that stood out to me that I liked was Jair Brown for the 49ers. I was glad to see they took him at 87 and didn't wait till 99. They were able to take a kicker then, which was a really big
Got to
move for
save
them.
that 99th pick for a kicker,
That's
Jake.
right. You get top 100. you know?
Priorities, my friend.
No, but what I like about Jair Brown is he showed versatility for me across the field playing for Penn State. He did struggle a little bit tackling, so hopefully that's something he can clean up here at the next level. Tashawn Gibson, 33 years old, on the last year of his contract, and as much as Hufanga, I think a lot of people think of him as like a more true box safety. Definitely a lot of utilization all over the field actually there too, and that means as well as playing deep at times. So having two safeties like that again and that versatility, I think that a lot of defensive coaches look for nowadays is something that he helps bring overall. So definitely not a year one barring injury, but someone I like his fit and I like what I think he can do with that coaching staff there.
I love it. Yes, Evan. One more?
Yeah, one more guy. I got to give some love to these managers that are in some of these cornerback required leagues, assuming he gets the positional eligibility. But the Washington Commanders also drafted Jartavius Martin. I can't remember if it was the second round or the third round.
47th overall, I think.
There we go.
That's nice.
They lost Bobby McCain to the Giants this offseason and currently have an opening on their roster for a nickel cornerback, and Jartavius Martin played nickel cornerback in college. So it seems like a pretty easy just fill right in and go ahead and get his starting role day one. So if you're looking for a kind of a nickel cornerback that can play near 100% of snaps and be pretty productive for your team, that's almost certainly going to go very, very late in drafts. He seems like the kind of guy that can do that for you.
All right. Well, there you go. A little cornerback love even sprinkled into the mix there. Thank you, Young King. And thank you, fine gentlemen, seated around this table. These are the best and worst landing spots from the 2023. They couldn't see the hat tip, Patty, but they could feel it in their soul from the 2023 NFL Draft. Be sure to stay tuned to the IDP show. We've got the rookie mock draft episode coming up on Monday night. The sleeper is finally adding these IDP rookies, so we will have a chance to dive in and give you all an idea of how your drafts might play out. We're going to have offense, we're going to have IDP, we're going to have fun. It is the rookie mock draft episode. It will be a live draft, Daddy. Me, you, Baba will be reacting to the picks. And I'm excited. This is one of our most downloaded episodes every year, and I'm excited to run it back for 2023.
That's right. That's all that matters is the numbies. And that reminds me, I have to set that up. You asked me to set that up, and I have not done that yet.
That's
So,
okay.
I
forgive
apologize.
you. You were getting in the right mindset to coach these young aspiring golfers this weekend.
I love being a mentor to these young fellas.
That you were.
I really
That you
do.
were. So
I hope you boys learned a lot this weekend.
we did. They learned maybe they want to come back to Bowling Green, Kentucky for the draft next season, and we hope you fellas will do just that. It has been a real joy and a treat having you here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the Sode Shack. John, Jake, Evan, thank you all so much. This was a real treat for us this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for the Southern hospitality.
That's how we do it, Bo.
Great food, great times, great friends, great laughs, great
Live, laugh, love,
Oh,
Eddie.
those are the things.
That's the motto that we live by here in the
what we
Sode
do.
Shack.
That's what we do.
Live, laugh, cry, eat, sleep, golf, pod.
Take some dumps.
We're going to need some dumps. And I think that Mexican food is sitting a little heavy, folks. So
right.
we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you again all weekend and in the run-up to the draft. Don't go anywhere. The IDP Show draft kit coming up on Monday, May 1st. You're going to have the draft kit in your hands on Monday. We're going to push the button and make it go live. And then late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, you're going to have the rookie mock draft episodes. The wheel, it keeps on turning. Jon, you've got some awesome big nickel episodes coming up here with the rookie crew, ranking these guys now that the draft is over. So look forward to that as well, folks. But until next time, y'all take care, and we'll see you soon.
We gonna take a trip today, yeah. Let me take you away, yeah. Away. We can take a trip to anywhere you wanna go. Tell me what you need, yeah. Everything in this amount like it high key, yeah. We gon' keep it on the low, yeah. We can keep it on the low. Wanna keep it on the low, I'm too high for that. When I'd rather be alone, just writing raps. Cause everyone fake, but I'm used to that. They done broke my heart.